Hi guys, it's Kelly Latevola here, and I am super excited to be doing this video for Altenew. I am their guest designer for May, and I am using the Fabulous Floral Frames Creativity Kit. Say that 3 times fast. I can't even say it once. So there's some really awesome things in this kit. The 36 pan watercolors from Altenew are included in the kit. Also, the floral frames, stamps and die bundle, these super fun little Fenstone gold embellishments, and then the permanent black Altenew crisp dye ink. So here I have some watercolor paper. I'm going to be stamping these images down. When I get a kit, I really like to try to get the most out of it that I can. And so I decided that I was going to do a feminine and a masculine card with the elements that were in the kit. So I'm going to go ahead and stamp using that dye ink because it's waterproof. I am going to stamp four leaves, 2 flowers to make 2 cards. The other thing that's included in the kit is an inspiration guide, which I really like. It gives you lots of ideas for how to use the elements that are included in the kit, which I think is super fun because sometimes, like when you lose your mojo and you're looking for something to inspire you or a jumping off point, it's really good. I mean, we all do it, whether it's, Pinterest or Instagram or blogs or YouTube videos, or sometimes we just need something that's going to be a little bit of a jump start to our own creative process. So I could only fit the leaves and 1 flower on this particular piece of watercolor paper, but I am going to stamp the flower on another piece. So that way I have the 2 that I was looking for my card design. So with the 36 pan watercolor set, I like to, any of my watercolors, because they're dry, I like to go in and just put a little drop of water on the colors that I know I'm going to be using. In this case, I wasn't really sure what I was going to be using, so anything I thought I might be interested in, I just put a drop of water on so that way it would be ready. The watercolor set also includes a water brush, and that's what I'm using today. So for the leaves, I actually did 2 different watercolor techniques here. So when I started with the leaves, I used It's Bamboo, which is like this really pretty yellow green, and I watered it down quite a bit. And you can see I used the middle section there for a palette. The lid also folds flat for extra room for the palette, which I really like. You can't see that just because I'm zoomed in here so you could see the watercoloring. And then with the bamboo, I watered it down a little bit and I filled in several leaves. I wanted to work on them while they were still wet because I wanted to let the water do the work. So from there, once the leaves were filled in and they were still wet, I went in and added, I think the first one I added was Forest Glades, which is a darker green. Then I also added a little bit of Lagoon, which is like a blue-green, just for some color variation. These, since with my masculine card, the leaves are a large part of the focal point, I wanted them to be interesting. So I wanted a lot of color variation. And this is just a good way to kind of it's a quick, fast way to watercolor. Let's put it that way. And it just gives you a ton of variation because you're not moving any of the pigment. You're letting the water do the work. So I did eventually add some, I believe it was Citrus Burst as well, which is the yellow. Yes, there was some areas where I added a little bit too much Lagoon and maybe it got a little bit darker than I wanted. So I went through and did those. I painted all of them the same way. Second watercolor technique, which is a little bit more time consuming, but I think it's worth it because it's so pretty. So with this one, I'm picking up, well, now I gotta look at it because I can't remember the name of the color. Is it Purple Wine? Stand by, and I'm gonna tell you what it is as soon as I can get it. These watercolors it is Purple Wine, are awesome because you can take out the little blocks. So like if you use one of all the color, then it has the opportunity to remove that color to be replaced. But for this technique, I like to start with where I want the color to be the darkest. So in this case, where the petals are joining the base of the flower. And then I lay down a line of pigment. From there, rinse off your brush. You don't want a lot of water. You want minimal water. And then with just a damp brush, you're going to start on the edge of the petal, and then you're going to bring that to the color and then draw the color out into the rest of the petal. This still lets the water do the work, but it gives you more control over the gradient from the shadow to the highlight. Okay, so real talk, my audio just died like mid. I don't know what happened to it. It was going and then it wasn't there, and then I had to mess around with all the Microsoft things. Anywho, back on track. For the flower coloring, another thing that I like to do, which is completely optional, I like a lot of color variation. Especially in watercolor, I think it's one of the things that makes it really beautiful, and it's very easy to achieve. So you'll see that when I am doing the petals, I'm adding more color where it's going to be darker, but then occasionally I will also drop in another color. So the main color of the flower is the purple wine, but then I also dropped in, I think it's fresh lemon. It's like a yellow orangish color, which I like. I like yellows and oranges in my pink flowers. You probably see it a lot if you normally watch my videos or have seen other projects that I've done. But that is, again, completely optional. If you want a true purple wine rose, is that a rose? I think it's rose. Then you don't need to add that in. Transversely, you could add in other colors. You could add in blues, you could add in purples. You just don't want to really add in anything that is its complementary color, because complementary colors can make brown dependent upon how they are mixed. So yeah, basically did that all the same. I'm going to do the lily the same way. I didn't realize on the left-hand side, I thought they were both leaves. There's like one leaf and then one petal. So eventually I'm going to get over there and color that in as well, because I didn't think it was the same thing. For the lily, I decided to do yellows and oranges, almost like more of a tiger lily. I thought that bold color would be really pretty alongside of that pink. And then, complementary to the gold element that we're going to be putting on the card. Story time, just generally in life, it's been a little bit crazy. Just with adjusting to the new schedule. I just got word that I will be going on my own, going out of training at the end of the month, which I am super excited about. I think the job is always more enjoyable when you don't have somebody watching over your shoulder Monday morning quarterbacking you. Also, much more nervous because you don't really have a safety net. So if you don't know what you're doing, then you don't know what you're doing. Now, fortunately, in a regional center, which is different than just a regular, like in-house, there is always somebody else there to ask. So hopefully I will have enough time to do that if I have a problem. But mostly it's been going really good. And then the only reason I am able to go on my own is because of Eric and Craig. So Craig is my ex-husband, Nathan's dad, and then Eric is my wonderful fiance. So the only reason that I can do this is because both of them are willing to work with me. So when I go on my own, I'm going to go to night shift, 12-hour night shifts. And I cannot do that with our current schedule with Peanut because childcare is a thing. And so I cannot work all night while he's sleeping and stay up during the day with him and get enough sleep to then turn around and go back to work the next day. So in talking to Craig, he is willing to take Peanut, even though it's not our set schedule. From like what we decided on when we got divorced. He's willing to take him and adjust the schedule so that he has him on the nights that I'm working. And then Eric will be taking care of him all day while I am sleeping. And then when Eric leaves at 2, I will get my booty out of bed, and then we'll have the evening together until I have to go back to work. Or in the cases where I'm rolling into a night off, then I will just, be able to spend time with him all night. So I am super grateful that like everybody's willing to work together for what's best for Nathan. I think that a lot of times in blended family situations, that's the key element that is missing, is that people aren't necessarily thinking what is best for the kids. Back to the card super quick. So here I got a little bit of the dark, I should have looked what color it was. It's like a reddish orange. It's super pretty. But I got a little bit where I wanted there to be a highlight. These pick up really, really well. Watercolor is so forgiving because you can pick up the colors. So I just used a dry paper towel. It's crimson, by the way. You can use a dry paper towel to just blot up any color that you don't like to lighten it, or even get rid of it. And then wait until that area is dry and go back over it with another color, and you're pretty much set. For this leaf over here on the left-hand side, I'm going to color it the same way I colored all the other leaves, so that those are matchy-matchy. And then I am going to let this dry. Once it's dry completely, you can see both flowers here. I'm going to go ahead and use the matching dies to cut these out. These dies are also included in that same creativity kit, which I love, because then, having both of them gives you a lot of versatility in how you can use things. So once those are in place, and they were super easy to line up once I figured out which leaf went with what leaf, then I just used some purple tape. I think we talked about before in my last video or the video before that the purple tape I do love, but I only use it after I've stuck it to my hand or my pants or something else a couple of times. I don't just peel it off the roll and stick it right on my card, because I have had it rip my paper that way. Here I have just a strip of black cardstock. I'm going to make them both birthday cards with the same sentiment. Again, that's also included in the stamp set, with a lot of other really good ones. I love general, like I do, because I think we use them the most, like hellos and things like that. This one also has You Amaze Me, Have a Beautiful Day, and a thanks. And a little love. My thumb was covering that up. So those are good, just like, regular, everyday, or most used sentiments. I'm going to stamp this in Versamark and then heat emboss it in white for both of them. So they're going to be exactly the same thing. As far as other things on the life front, we are getting ready to prepare for Peanut's birthday. His birthday is more toward the end of May. And normally what we would do is I have a party. Well, Eric and I have a party with my side of the family and his family. And then Craig also has a party on his side of the family. Because of Rona 2020, we are unable to get together with our families. So we are going to have a party. We also do a friend party too. Last year he wanted to go bowling, and so Craig and I did that together, where we did his friend party. But since we are unable to get together with our families, we are going to have a party with the four of us. It's a 4-person party. And so we're just trying to make the best of a bad situation. There's so many people who have things that they're trying to celebrate: birthdays, anniversaries, weddings, which for those of you who have asked, we've moved ours to September 5th. We did lose our deposit on the hall because we could not find a date that worked with the dates that they had available. We could have kept it if we would have been able to find a date. We could not. Back to the card real quick. So I wanted to do a little bit of splatters in the background. I thought that would make it more interesting. And so I did that, but then I also wanted a little bit of that gold. And so this stamp set is not, or I'm sorry, ink pad is not included in the set. But I think that it's a really good one, and I've used it a lot for sentiments. This is the antique gold, and I think they also have an enchanted one, which I really like as well. And so I just added a little bit of water to that so I could kind of spatter it on the background to bring in that gold color and a little bit of shimmer. And then for the feminine version, I did the same thing. I just added some pink and orange to the background. Now everything's dry. I'm going to start putting things together. So this year, because obviously we're not doing a friend party, and and he wants to do a unspeakable party. What is unspeakable, you ask? Let me tell you. It is a YouTuber who does Minecraft videos, and he's hugely popular, and Peanut loves the Minecraft, so that's what he wants to have. I have no idea how I'm going to pull that off. I'm working on some ideas for how to make this party a party with things still being closed. We don't have a shelter in place order in Ohio anymore. They're now calling it a Stay Safe Ohio order. So with this sentiment, like, I cut them into labels, but I didn't really love how blocky it looked. So for the masculine card, I am going to trim around it so that it's more just the outline of the sentiment. I'm going to leave the feminine version a black label, though. I think it fit better with that design. So yeah, not a lot of things are open. So like balloons and things like that are a little bit more difficult to get our hands on. And I usually make his cake, so I'm a little less concerned about that. I should still be able to pull off something. Mama's going to work some magic, I guess. Currently today, Eric has been driving around trying to find a basketball hoop because Walmart has some, but you cannot order them online. So many places are just out of them. The ones that are in stock, the prices are outrageous. Like, I'm not paying $1,000 for a basketball hoop. That's not happening. And so if that doesn't work, he checked one store, and now he's on his way to the other since he's already out and contaminated. Well, he's not contaminated, but, he's already out and been exposed to people. We're just going to knock it out in one day rather than do it in multiple days. And then, maybe grill or order pizza. Peanut's favorite food is pizza. He would love to have a pizza party. So yeah, just working on trying to make it work, which I'm sure you guys are too. I've seen a bunch of different ways that schools are trying to do graduations. John Krasinski from The Office he's got that new thing, which you haven't seen it. It's totally adorable. It's on YouTube. It's called Some Good News. And so he held a prom for people and had like a bunch of different musicians and stuff on there, which was super fun. So everybody's getting a little bit inventive. We for sure can pull off a birthday party for a 7-year-old. So here what I'm doing is I felt like the card needed a little bit more something. It was a very simple masculine card, and I do struggle with this. The masculine cards are more simple and I want to add more things to them. So I did feel like it needed a little something extra. I trimmed it down so I could mat it. I did not have the exact color of cardstock that I wanted. So I just used my Lagoon like mini ink cube to color just the edges of some white cardstock. And once I pop this up over it, nobody will ever know that that was not the color of the cardstock. And because Altenew is the bomb diggity at matching all of their colors so well, their inks match their watercolors. It's just, they're so good at that. So these it matches pretty spot on. Now it does get a little bit lighter when you're seeing it here in the video. The ink is still not I don't want to say wet because it's not going to smear or anything, but it is not completely dried in the paper. So the ink color did get a little lighter once it was completely dry. But it is a perfect match to the watercolors that I put in the leaves. And then I was pretty happy with how this one looked. Still felt like it was fairly masculine, and not, too plain. And then we're going to move on to the feminine version. So for the feminine version, I decided to do more of a collage style with the images that I had. Because I decided to do the masculine version the way I did, my original thought was to cut two different leaves, that one curved in to the left, one curves in to the right. And then that's how I stamped them. But because I didn't like the way that it looked too heavy on the bottom and I needed to balance the design, I decided to do the same leaf, so that way the thicker part was in the top left and the thicker part was in the bottom right. So that left me with two of the same leaves for this card. I certainly could have stamped another one and watercolored it. That also was not ever going to happen in my life, because while I do love crafting, I am also very lazy. And so that left me with two. I did play around with this a little bit to make sure that I would be able to get it to look the way that I wanted it to look. And so ultimately what ended up coming up with is that I would be able to trim the leaf down so that it didn't look exactly the same. So that's what I'm doing here. I'm trying to figure out how far I need to trim it, so that I can make the collage make sense. But yeah, so we're trying to figure out the birthday party situation. We're all working together. So if you're in a position where you are divorced, getting divorced, maybe you were never married, you have, children, you're blending families, like, hang tight, even when it's super awkward, and uncomfortable in the beginning. It's funny how things work out, because here we are going to have a birthday party all together, right? So these are the two cards with the creativity kit. I love them both. I think they both look totally different, even though they have the same elements. And honestly, that is my favorite part. But I hope that you were inspired to try this. Thank you so much to Altenew for inviting me to be their May guest designer. And I will catch you guys on the next video. Bye.